Hello, I'm just here to give a couple tips on replacing the back hatch handle on the Toyota Sequoia. If you have a 2002 to I think 2007 or 8 perhaps, I don't know if they made this model or this body style in 8, but we've had this for a while. I've had to deal with this handle for a while. I think this is maybe my second time to open this back up. But two things, if you buy the handle, the metal replacement handle, it looks like a good idea because the handle is made out of metal rather than the Toyota stock part, which is made out of plastic, with that tab that breaks, of course. Unfortunately, when I've used those, the metal that the mechanism is made out of is too weak, and it ends up bending, and eventually I can't open the back hatch anymore. So what I did the last time I had to do this was I saved my Toyota part, the assembly, even with the broken handle, and I had my metal replacement part. And what I did was I removed the pin that goes through each of the handles, that long pin that attaches the handle to the mechanism, and I replaced the Toyota broken handle part, and I took the metal handle out of the replacement and put it in the Toyota mechanism, and then put a pin back through. I think there was either a pin or it was a long threaded rod with a nut on the end, I forget. But that worked much better. I haven't had that one broken, so if you're wondering why do I have my back hatch open now, it's actually because over time, for whatever reason, it's developed a little too much slack in the cable. So tip number one was replace the Toyota broken plastic handle with a metal replacement handle, but just the handle. I would use the Toyota assembly. So that's a modification to the part that you receive in the mail. Number two is if you have too much slack, one thing I did, and I'm going to try to show this. I can't show the handle because I'm not going to take that back out again. There we go. I used one of those weights that you use for fishing. It's the lead ball type weight. And what I did was I opened it up and I put it on the cable just below the ball that is already on the cable. So I don't know if you can see that. The shinier ball there, that's the one that is the Toyota stock one, kind of more in the center, and then the weight is the one right below it. So that's going to take up the slack, hopefully. I did a test run that seems to work. Unfortunately, you have to pretty much open up the back of or you have to put it almost all back together again in order to test it out. So I just did a partial test and it seems to work. So I'm going to have to put it back together. We'll see if it works. So that's it. I'm not going to show you again like how to take it apart. There's plenty of videos how to take apart the back and get to the handle. This was just 2 additional tips though that I think may be helpful. So while I have your attention, I want to say that, this, unfortunately, it's a beautiful Saturday in spring, and it's certainly an inconvenience. It's very easy to just look at this like, oh my gosh. But you know what? There's far worse things that could happen to us. I'm going to give you an example. 10 out of 10 of us die. That's pretty dramatic and drastic, don't you think? But what happens after that? What's going to happen to you when you die? We're all going to die. 10 out of 10 of us die. 100% of us are not going to make it off this planet alive. So my question for you is, what's going to happen next? Do you deserve heaven, or would you go to hell? And maybe you'll say, well, that's just your opinion. You don't really know any of what you're talking about. I'm going to challenge you on that. I'm going to say, if you look at my truck for what it is, someone clearly put this together. We look around just at the world around us. It's a beautiful spring day. This cherry blossom or cherry tree behind me actually just lost its flowers not that long ago, but it's beautiful. We don't look at something like this and say, this truck happened by accident. We know that somebody put it together, and just like that, we are just wonderfully made. I mean, think about how they try to recreate, the articulation of a hand, or the walking that they try to put into artificial intelligent robots that to try to walk and climb stairs. I mean, they've only barely gotten to that point now, but it's clear that someone has made this world and us. And we all have a sense of justice in us. We all know that this world is a broken place. We know that there are people who abuse women, people who abuse children, people who just mistreat each other just because of the color of their skin. So we know that there needs to be justice for these things, but we probably don't look at so much about the justice that should probably go towards us. And so our conscience tells us that we have done bad things. We have violated the rules and the laws set down by our Creator, God. We know them. Have you ever told a lie? Have you ever taken anything that didn't belong to you? I mean, we know that we've done these things. There's even more, but this is just proof that we have now decided to live in rebellion against our Creator because we want to live our own lives. So what are we to do? Well, this King of the universe who has created us has given us terms of peace. He sent his own Son to live perfectly, obeying all of these laws, and then he put down his own life. He laid down his own life, willingly went down to be sacrificed, to be killed at the hands of people like you and me. But he didn't stay dead. He rose again from the dead on the third day. And I know that sounds fantastic, but there were eyewitnesses to this that even laid down their lives just for saying that message, that this Jesus rose from the dead. So this Jesus of Nazareth, Jesus the Christ, the Messiah, he is the one who came into the world that was predicted from long ago, and he brings these terms of peace that if you turn to him, come to him, it's a word called repentance. It's a religious word. Maybe you've heard it before, but it simply means to turn away from the life that you're running away from God with, and instead turn towards him and put your faith and trust in what Jesus has done. And he says he will give you new life. He will give you an eternity with him. And honestly, the consequence, if we don't obey and heed his terms of peace, is we're going to be punished justly for the sins that we have committed against him, the laws that we have broken against him. So I implore you today, I encourage you, please consider this. Take it to heart. And, I thank you for staying with me this long. So please consider what I've had to say to you. I hope the tip has been helpful, or the tips have been helpful to you. And just have a good day. God bless.